So here's the situation. 6 months into this so-called presidency, and it kind of reads more like an audition for kingship than any kind of democracy, right?
Yeah, it's, pretty wild how fast things have escalated. The shift from one system to, well, something resembling absolute rule is astounding.
Exactly. I mean, take a look at the courts. In just weeks, a number of DOJ officials got canned and replaced with folks who are, well, deeply loyal. No matter what the
Mm-hmm.
qualifications are, it's basically law transformed into law obedience.
Yeah, and that kind of reshuffling really undercuts the independence of the justice system. I wonder how any investigations could continue when loyalty is the main ticket.
And speaking of investigations, remember the probes into his finances and that whole January 6th fiasco? Those prosecutors were either sidelined, reassigned, or, publicly humiliated. It creates this climate that's, not about enforcing the law, but ensuring
Yeah,
obedience.
that's a huge red flag. I mean, in any healthy democracy, those watchdog functions are critical, right? They act as a check on power.
Right. And then there's Congress. Now, instead of being a branch of government that holds things accountable, they're basically being bullied into submission. Case in point. When Congress tried to investigate some override of environmental regs, Trump
Uh
threatened
huh.
funding cuts to those very committees. It's, like there's no separation of powers anymore.
I get that. But isn't it possible to see some of this as normal interbranch conflict? I'm not totally sold on the idea that it's just a hostile takeover of democracy.
I see your point, but, when you have a leader who actively uses funding as a weapon to stop oversight, that's, well, far beyond typical partisan squabbles. It's more akin to, like, autocratic leverage, don't you think?
Yeah, I get that. Fair enough. The use of funding as a blunt instrument, especially when you're threatening entire committees, really does sound extreme.
Now let's move to the judicial branch. In just 6 months, this administration has managed what most presidents do in years. They've appointed a staggering number of judges, and many, barely out of law school, picked from lists provided by ultra-conservative think tanks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not exactly a merit-based process. It's more like, well, a loyalist lottery.
That's a disturbing shift, really. When judges are just, rubber stamping rather than critiquing and debating, that undermines the rule of law entirely.
Exactly. And, then there's the Department of Homeland Security. It's been, how do you put it, militarized. Picture this: a federal protection division roaming the states, deployed not against real external threats, but to break up
Uh
peaceful
huh.
protests. It's a recipe straight out of an authoritarian playbook.
I mean, comparing it to something like Putin's Russia might feel a bit extreme, but the parallels in how protesters are being treated are definitely unsettling.
Yeah, it really is reminiscent, isn't it? And then there's the media. Trump's approach here is pretty textbook authoritarian, threatening lawsuits against news outlets, proposing a federal media standards board to review political reporting, and only allowing what he considers approved media to speak to federal agencies. It's like
Mm-hmm.
he's trying to control the narrative down to, who gets to technically talk about politics.
I mean, having even a suggestion of censorship, especially in the context of a democracy, that is a serious issue. Free press isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity.
And check out this one: his personal media outlet. Yeah, his own YouTube channel, run out of Mar-a-Lago, no less. It's not just policy updates. It even throws in golf tips among the mix. Talk about mixing
Yeah,
business with pleasure, or in this case, governance with personal branding.
that blending of personal and official is really problematic. It blurs the lines and, um, creates a cult of personality rather than a focus on policy.
Speaking of cults, how about that military loyalty campaign? At this Rally for the Republic, he even got active duty service members to pledge loyalty not to the Constitution, but directly to him. Several generals ended up resigning or got replaced, And there were instances of, well, odd displays of loyalty, like saluting in MAGA hats. It's a pretty clear signal that tradition and institutional norms are crumbling.
Sure, many would say military loyalty is vital, but deferring oaths meant for the Constitution to the whims of a single person, even if that person was elected, is deeply concerning.
Absolutely. And then at the state level, we see this absurd approach to federal funding. Republican-led states are practically showered with dollars for compliance programs, while states that lean Democratic are hit with blockades on infrastructure funds and federal lawsuits. Welcome to, the United States of Retribution.
Yeah, that's like using federal funding as a political weapon, and it's a tried and true tactic in authoritarian regimes, unfortunately.
And, oh boy, the saga of voting rights. National ID requirements? A purge of voter rolls that already mistakenly removed over 600,000 eligible voters, veterans and active duty service members included. It's the voter suppression sequel that no one asked for, trapping everyone in a live-action drama of democracy being undermined.
It's alarming because voting rights are the cornerstone of any democracy. Tweaking them in this manner is a direct assault on people's ability to choose their leaders.
Totally. And as if that wasn't enough, his rallies have taken over the role of press conferences. No more tough questions from reporters, just hand-picked crowds roaring 4 more years, even though it's only been 6 months.
Yeah,
It's like a never-ending loop of manufactured support.
that approach definitely seems designed to fuel a sense of invincibility rather than accountability.
Right. And get this. There's even talk of pushing a constitutional amendment to eliminate term limits altogether. Yeah, you heard that right. An amendment introduced by a MAGA caucus member and, backed by this president's interest. It's as if he wants to extend his rule indefinitely, like a modern-day monarch.
I mean, while presidents often try to consolidate power, proposing to remove term limits, that really is a step too far. It's a bold move that challenges the very foundation of democratic turnover.
Exactly. It kind of sums up the situation. Courts are compromised, Congress is intimidated, the media is muzzled, protesters are policed, and elections are being manipulated, and now he's only just, getting started.
When you listen to the outcry, those no king protests, they're not just hyperbole. They're, a stark warning. The message is clear. Democracy isn't quietly fading away. It's being bulldozed in broad daylight by a system that no longer respects its own ancient rules.
Right. And that gold-plated golf cart leading the charge is, almost symbolic. A flashy show of power that contradicts the very ideals of democracy. It's like watching a bad remake of history where the script is being changed on the fly, and nobody's really stopping it.
Yeah,
It's time everyone pays attention.
absolutely. This isn't just political theater. It's a set of actions that, if left unchecked, risk the foundational structures of a free society. And, history tells us that once a democracy starts falling, it rarely bounces back easily.
So, while some might argue it's mere drama, the consequences are very real. It's a reminder that vigilance matters. Otherwise, we risk, trading liberty for a semblance of order under authoritarian rule. And that's a trade-off we can't afford.
Indeed. It's a call to re-examine the balance of power carefully and insist on the checks that have protected democratic norms for generations. The stakes are incredibly high here.
Well said. The unfolding events suggest we're at a crossroads, one where, if we don't, push back, the move toward autocracy could become irreversible. And history is not kind to societies that let their freedoms erode gradually.
So, while some may see these actions as politically motivated maneuvers, the cumulative effect is deeply worrisome. We're witnessing a transformation of power dynamics right before our eyes.
Exactly. It's an urgent reminder. Democracy is fragile, and these deliberate moves might sound, well, almost theatrical. But they are fundamentally reshaping how power is distributed in this country. And that's why people are out there saying, "No king,
Yeah, it's a wake-up call for all of us. When the structure of governance starts to mimic everything we fought against, it's high time to demand accountability and a return to democratic principles.
Right on. The narrative isn't just about a president doing something unconventional, it's about protecting the very architecture of democracy from crumbling under unchecked authority. And that's a
Yeah,
warning we shouldn't ignore.
indeed. We, as citizens and experts, need to stay engaged and keep questioning the use of such centralized power. If we're not careful, the history lessons we've learned might repeat in even darker forms.
Absolutely. And as we look ahead, the call remains. Defend the structures that safeguard our freedoms, because once those are gone, rebuilding a true democratic system is an uphill battle. And that's the imperative message right now.
Well, that really sums it up. It's a cautionary tale, a modern political saga that reminds us of the fragility of democracy and the importance of constant vigilance.
Exactly. So keep your eyes wide open, listen to the signs, and never let history's lessons fall on deaf ears.
Here's to hoping that, in the end, accountability and democratic values prevail over the allure of autocratic power.
Right. And until then, it's our role to keep discussing, debating, and calling out the dangers head on. Stay vigilant out there.